Greetings and welcome to virtual learning at Hack. In this video, I am going to walk through the course navigation procedures for the classes that I teach for Hack's virtual learning. And those are astronomy and physical science courses. So if you're taking one of those with me, you'll have a chance to view this video and get an idea of how to navigate through my courses. Now, when you log in to D2L, you will come up with one of two home pages. There is a classic home page and there is the dashboard. So when you see one here, this is the dashboard, and you can set the courses that you want here to show up. Now mine is going to show the classes that I'm teaching. Yours would show the classes that you are taking. If you want to keep those at the top, in this case, what you can do is scroll down below all of the classes that are there and look for the list of courses. Now mine is going to be very long. Yours hopefully will be a lot shorter, but you can select as favorites the classes that you want to show on top. So these ones that I've selected as favorites will now show up here in my class list. So what you could do is go down to the current semester and select all of your courses that are currently there, and those would be then attached to select them as favorites, and then they would show up here directly as you open your home page. If you prefer the classic home page, you can click on that, and then in that case you can scroll through and you can actually pin the ones that you want. So if you want to pin a specific course to the top, you just click on the pin and either pin or unpin it. Right now those were pinned, and if I wanted to pin this course, I could then pin it to my home page. So that's either way is up to you. It's up whether you use the personal dashboard or if you decide to use the classic home page. Either one is fine, and you can still access all of your classes there. And you can change your settings here. If you want one of those to come up, if you click on settings, you can decide whether you want your classic homepage or personal dashboard to come up every time you log in. Now let's go through and look at some of my classes, what you need to do here. And let's take a look at one of my templates here. We're going to go into the Astronomy 103 course, but the procedures are the same for any of my classes. Now, if you look here when you log in, I have a banner header here, and you will note that it has notes what lesson we are in and what we are studying. So keep an eye on this. I will update this when there's an exam or anything else going on. I will update this as to the current lessons that we are working on at the beginning of each week. You'll also have the navigation bar up here, and primarily what you want to look at, what you really need, are the content and the grades links. You don't need a whole lot else for my classes. Everything is set up through the content, and then you have your grades to access your grades. Now if you look at the others, you can use things like communications links here. That will give you access to things like email if you need to contact me. But for the class itself, what you really need is the content link and the grades. So let's take a look at what we have there. And if we click on the content link, or sorry, before we do that, let's scroll down a little bit, and I will always have the news items here. I will post news items if there are any specific updates to the class or notices that I need to give out. Those will be present here. You will see updates over to this side, which will tell you if you have a quiz to take or drop boxes, anything that is unsubmitted, discussions that are unread will all show up there for you. So you'll know if there's anything missing in the class. Now when you click on content for my classes, you will come up with the content browser, and that shows everything that you need to do for a specific lesson. So when you go in the first time, you'll see the table of contents, and you won't see all of the lessons. I keep most of those hidden until the end, until you need them. So here you'd have the syllabus materials that you'd see first. But let's look at one of the typical lessons, which is lesson 1. Which is our kind of our introductory lesson. It will I break them down into several sections. So there are within each lesson, I break it down into lecture materials, discussions, and assignments that need to be done. So lecture materials are essentially materials for lecture. So there would be a introduction to the course, for example. Different lectures. There will be video lectures that are linked to. There are questions that you can look at, PowerPoint slides for the that you might want to view with the lectures or have printed out. So essentially it is all things that will help with the lectures. There may be additional audio files or video files that will emphasize specific points within that lecture. The second section would be the discussions. Now I link to all the discussions here. So in this case, you have the class introductions. We also have a photo of the day image to look at. Ignore my dates, of course. The dates will be quite different for whatever semester you are taking the course. Then there are graded discussions for the lesson. And if you need to see, when you need to see those, you click on them and it will link you directly to the graded discussion, give you a description of it, and then have you the chance to be able to post to that discussion. Now let's go back into content again here. So those are the discussions. So you'll see any graded discussions for the lessons will be located in that section. Now we also have the assignments. The assignments down below. And in this case, in the discussions, finishing up the discussions first, we have class announcements. Anything that goes into the news feed also goes into class announcements. This way, if you have a question on it, you can easily ask and post a question. There are also links for specific questions about the class. And then if we look at the lessons, the assignments that we have, where everything is here. If we look at lesson 1 assignments, it will give you links to any of the assignments there. And I'm going to go all the way back to lesson 1. So if we just look at lesson 1 and scroll down to assignments, there are various assignments that you need to do. Once they've been done, once you've submitted, for example, then it can be checked off and marked off in D2L as having been completed. But you'll find here links to any assignments, labs, and quizzes. At the end of each lesson, you will find a checklist. The checklist is required to be completed at the end of each lesson. And if you look at one, what it will tell you is exactly what assignments were due in that lesson. So in this case, it tells you that you need to read these chapters, watch these video lectures, complete certain assignments and when their due dates are. In this case, it tells you when the discussions are due, and any ungraded assignments specifically, which may be posting to the class introductions. It may be things that just aren't due until later in the semester that I'm giving you reminders of that you need to be working on. Once you mark off all of these, then the next lesson will be available to you. So once you check off everything in lesson 1 checklist, then lesson 2 is available. Do note that you have to check off everything. If you were unable to do an assignment for some reason, that's fine. You still check it off in order to see the next lesson. And the process will repeat each lesson for the entire semester. So essentially, you can access everything you need to through the content section. If you need to get directly into something, there are general links over here, which are ways to access the discussion list, the Dropbox, the quizzes, or the checklist directly. So if you're missing something or feel like you're not seeing something, you do have a way to access these directly, but you do not need to use that for my classes. All you need to use is the content, and then the grades would allow you to access your grades, current grades for the class. So that really was a quick summary just to walk through how you can navigate the course, either my astronomy or physical science courses, as you're taking them. And those are the procedures. And again, the key is that what you really need to use is this content section. This content is where everything is located for my classes, and everything is linked to within the content. So you don't need to go anyplace else to find an assignment. Everything will be in that content. So that concludes this video as a course navigation video, how to walk through my courses. So until next time, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.